Good morning, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Talking Business with Dr. Sandra. And I'm your host, Dr. Sandra. Today, I want to talk to you about something that is near and dear to my heart. I'm coming back from almost 2 decades of teaching leadership and entrepreneurship at the graduate level. And for the next 5 weeks, I am going to be exploring a series entitled The 50 Things They May Have Forgotten to Mention in Business School. Yeah, the 50 things they may have forgotten to mention in business school. So each week I'll look at five. Over 5 weeks, I'll look at 10 each week until we're finished. Now, why am I sharing this with you? I think sometimes, we bypass what I call basic common sense and we get stuck in theory and we remain grounded and we are unable to take flight because we we have the wrong ideas about how some things work. Over the past probably 18, 19 years, I've been fortunate to teach several graduate classes. I have marked hundreds of business plans, listened to a ton of business pitches, and I have also had the opportunity to review and assess hundreds of entrepreneurs profiles that students have prepared for me as they walk through the journey of an entrepreneur. And with that in mind, I think that I have garnered so much experience and so much that I have learned from these journeys and the students' own experience that I think I can share with you, some of the things to avoid, some of the things to look out for as well, and I can put them in a condensed form and present them to you as nuggets, if you will, of wisdom, some practical insights. And sometimes they may be quite unconventional truths, but they will make a difference, a major difference in your journey as a business owner or as an entrepreneur. And you may be thinking that, oh, this is just for people who are entrepreneurs or who have their own business. But remember, you can be an intrapreneur, meaning that you are working in somebody else's business. They are providing the resources, but you have an entrepreneur's mindset, right? So if you're ready, grab your notebook, grab a paper, or if you are more digital and you just want to pull out your smartphone, just sit back and let's uncover the first 10 things and take some notes. So the first one is start where you are. Start where you are. This one may sound, a bit odd. Start where you are. You may be looking around like, where am I? I have no experience. I have no money. I have no network. I have no contacts. But I can assure you that the only place you can start is actually where you are. It may seem daunting, especially if you look at the financial resources that are required. However, a lot of successful entrepreneurs started with minimal resources and ended up building empires from very, very humble beginnings. The well-known story of Michael Dell. He started Dell Computers in his dorm room using his very limited resources to create a prototype that would end up revolutionizing personal computing. What if he had said, well, oh, I don't have a factory, or I don't have workers, or I don't have investors? He started where he was. What about Colonel Sanders? He started what is now KFC with his first social security check. Yeah, he was 65 years old. He got his first social security check, and he used this to start his business. Think about that. You know, KFC is now in over 100 countries, and they continue to expand. Even closer to home, I can. I'm thinking of our own juicy patties. Juicy patties. Juki Chin started Juicy Patties in Rocky Point in Clarendon, and he actually baked his first few dozen patties from his mother's oven. This was not a commercial oven. He actually used his mother's domestic kitchen oven to bake his first dozen patties. And today, Juicy Patties is franchising. They just opened several branches in Florida. They have been exporting to Canada and other Caribbean countries. They're all over the place. What if he had just said, I just don't have the resources to get started? He started where he was. Joan Duncan is another good example. She was actually in her 50s when she started Jamaica Money Market Brokers. She started in her bedroom, yes, her bedroom in New Kingston, before moving downtown to the Kingston Mall in Jamaica. And look at Jamaica Money Market Brokers today. So there is a fallacy, I think, that you must have the financial resources in place before you start. And this is not to say that finances are not important. They are essential, but it's not the only factor. If you have a bad idea, it doesn't matter how much financial resources you have, the business is still going to fail, right? So businesses need a combination of the right people, the right ideas, leadership, entrepreneurship, and processes. And the financial part of it is one piece of the puzzle. And I always say that there is enough, more than enough financial resources out there looking for good ideas. So creativity, resourcefulness, and leveraging available assets can significantly impact your venture's success. So entrepreneurs often have to make do with what they have. You may have to bootstrap, but the message here is start where you are. It doesn't matter. Just get going. There's a story I normally share with my MBA students, and I'll share it with you. This story about a man who actually imported a container of tires, and he called. He wanted some persons to sell the tires, so the first person he called, I have some tires. Let's talk about it. Would you be interested in selling these tires for me? And the gentleman said to him, well, I need a lot more information, how much tires, the cost of the tire, the market, and he needed a lot of information, and he wanted to know how much the person was going to pay him, how he was going to be compensated, and all these are very, very, very good questions. And he said to the gentleman, are you going to go ahead with this thing? And he said, I have to go home and think about it, and I need to do some more research, and I have to put a plan together, and so on, and then I will get back to you. And they said their goodbyes and so on. And then the second person who he spoke to said to him, boss, how many tires do you have? And he told him, and he said, how much do you want me to sell one of the tires for? And he told them, and he said, all right, if I sell it for X dollars, how much will you give me out of it? And he told him, he said, okay, I'll start right now. 2 weeks later, the first gentleman came back and said, I've done my research and so on, and, but there are just a few more things I just need to sort out and be clear on, and I'll give you an answer in another 2 days. And the man said to him, boss, all the tires have been sold off. What? Yes, all the tires have been sold off. That second person who just started where he was sold all the tires. So that's a lesson. Don't overthink it. Don't get too lost in that thought cycle. You have to get going. The great Michael Jordan said, you miss every shot that you did not take. The second point I want to share is start with the end in mind. Now you might be saying, but Dr. Sandra, that's controversial because you just said that, you should start where you are without any resources, and I'm now telling you to start with the end in mind. Isn't that a leap? Yes. I always say to aspiring business owners and business students, you want to start with the end in mind. What do I mean by that? You want to have a clear vision of the business's future. What is the destination you're headed for? And the reason for that is because it's going to help you to build in a way to get you where you want to go. Think about it. If you're building a house and the house is going to have 2 stories, the foundation is going to be different. If you're building a hotel and the hotel is going to have 20 floors, the foundation is going to be different, and the way you go about it is going to be different. So you want to know for what harbor you're headed. Just like a sailor knows their destination so that they can navigate effectively, and if you go off course, you can get back on track. Entrepreneurs must have a vision of what they want to achieve. At the end of the day, what is it that you want to build? And for everybody, that's going to be different. Somebody probably want to build $1 billion business. Another person probably want to build a $10 million business. Somebody else may want to take their business public. Another person may want to keep the business private. It really doesn't matter. There is no right or wrong answer to that. It's all about what you want. The size of the business, the control that you want to have over the business. These are the things that will decide the type of business that you want. If you want to maintain control, then probably you're going to have to think clearly about, how much of other person's equity you're going to take. Maybe you will go more for debt financing, or probably you will use more of your own resources so that you can maintain control. But then that could mean that you're going to grow a bit slower. It's going to take a longer time. If you took another approach where maybe you decided to borrow or have deep-pocketed investors investing in the business, and probably you could grow much faster. The business could become profitable in a much shorter time. But then again, what does that mean to you? What are you willing to give up? I mean, something to consider. Do you want to have 100% of nothing, or 100% of not much, or 100% or 10% of something smaller? So consider, 100% of a mustard seed, or nutmeg. Maybe you can relate more to a nutmeg, or 10% of a watermelon, So it's really up to you, but you want to consider where is it that you want to go? What is it that you're trying to build? The vision, of the business will determine the scale and how you approach it. So, know where you're headed. There's a saying that if you don't know where you're going, then any road will take you there. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. If you're not clear where you're headed, any road will take you there. Number three, have an absurd idea. Yeah. There's a saying that if at first your idea is not absurd, almost crazy, there's not much hope for it. The truth is that there is not a lot of new things. And, you know, the fact is that innovation and creativity are critical. Um, Great businesses normally start out with somebody saying, "What? That doesn't make sense." But the thing is that if something has never been done, has never been tried, then clearly it's not going to make sense to most persons. If you think about it, once you hear something or you read something, your brain goes to its filing cabinet and it does a search, like a Google search, and it's going to come back with the information that's already stored. Now, if this is something new, something that is very different, has never been done before, then your brain is going to come back with zero, no records found, no records found. Right? And so clearly it's going to think that that is something that is quite crazy. And I assure you that that is a good starting point, because it means that your business is not going to be a me too business. And not to say that every business idea has to be totally brand new, but the fact is that if the idea is totally absurd, almost outrageous, then there might be a chance that the innovation will be enough, to get you in the market and competing with those who are already there. I mean, think about Airbnb, think about Uber, Lyft. How did that sound? I can imagine how those ideas sound when they were first pitched. And as they say, look at them now, the rest is history. So you want to stand out, you want to achieve exceptional success, you really need to differentiate yourself and embrace creativity, challenge the conventional wisdom. you know, there may be a different way to do something that somebody has never thought of before. Look at the problems that are around, the very problems that you face in your own life. How would you solve them? And this could be the start of a brand new business idea. Most business ideas, to be honest, are a dime a dozen. They're not unconventional at all, and it's kind of harder to turn those into viable businesses. If the business idea is not brand new, what you want to do is to ensure that it offers some sort of a tweak on existing ideas. You are presented in a different way with a twist, and not just an identical replication of another business that's already out there. Now, number four is start from scratch or buy a business. You don't always have to start the business from scratch. There are other options, several options actually. Starting from scratch is well known because it allows you to have complete control of how you do what you do. It gives you the ability to shape the business from the ground up, but it also comes with a higher cost, higher risk, higher uncertainties. But you know what you're signing up for. You have total control. 100% success is yours, 100% failure is also yours. But what about buying a business that is already a going concern? That is something you can do. I mean, you need the funds. I mean, you can borrow. You can, get investment from friends and family and other persons probably who want to invest in a new business, depending on their appetite for risk. Depending on also how much they want to get back in terms of a return on investment. That can prove to be a good way to get started quickly. You can also buy into a franchise. If you are okay with following somebody else's blueprint for running a business and willing to pay a good portion of your earnings back as royalties, and follow their methods, their marketing, and basically do things as prescribed by the franchise. And franchise can some franchise, it can be very profitable depending on the market and the product or the service. So there are options. Businesses evolve over time. You can start the business with one product or service, a particular idea, and as you adapt to changing external changes in the external environment, then you may find that you may have to tweak, change, or sometimes change totally on what you're doing. You have to adapt, you have to improve your ideas. And again, I am not saying that you have to be totally original at all. Many paths to success, many paths to success. And you can get there irrespective of which approach you use. You just want to figure out what is more comfortable for you. Now, number 5, every idea is not a business opportunity. Several times persons will talk to me about a possible idea, a possible business that they want to start. And, I listen to them and, they are so excited about it. But the truth is that, it's not an idea that is worth pursuing. And it's really important to differentiate between what I call a hobby and a viable business opportunity. Yes, there are some hobbies, some side hustles that can turn into a lucrative business. But the truth really is that not every idea that you have is a good business opportunity. You'll have to sift through all these ideas. I always say, if you're just starting, start with a ton of ideas, and try and boil that down to 3. Then do the research and see which one comes out as the best of the 3. Don't just pick one and get started. You don't want an expensive hobby that is not commercially viable. You want to ensure that there's a demand for the product or service. Someone has to be willing to buy it. Someone has to be willing to part with their money, right? So you want to do a litmus test by assessing your ideas against certain success pillars. And there are several templates that you can use to determine. Some are like market demand, profitability, the uniqueness, and so on. But be passionate, but be practical. I always say that while passion is important, it must be backed and balanced by practicality and profitability in the business model. You don't want to be, to put it this way, you want to be smiling all the way to the bank, right? And not crying all the way to the poorhouse. The sixth point I want to share is to do research on your market, right? And we're not talking now about analysis paralysis. That's another disease all on its own. But you definitely want to do some market research. You want to talk to possible stakeholders, find out, the competitors who are in the market, how are they doing? The potential customers, gather some valuable insights from them. Try and validate the idea. If you can come up with a prototype, test it, see how people feel about it, understand the needs of the market, understand their preferences, their behaviors. And believe me, I can tell you from my own experience as a serial entrepreneur, I have started businesses in several different industries in different countries, and I can tell you, experience is a very expensive school, and you can save yourself a lot of money and a lot of trouble by avoiding some of these costly mistakes, by, just taking the time to just slow down a little bit, talk to stakeholders, do the market research, do the testing before you become fully committed. Test the ideas in the real world and gather the feedback, make the necessary adjustments. I get very concerned when persons tell me they have an idea and, the first thing they're doing, they're getting a marketing person on board, they're busy with the logo and the business cards and they're doing the website and, that I call the sexy side of business startup, and they're doing the business registration and so on. But really, the most important part of it is to make sure that there is a market, to make sure that there is somebody, some persons who have told you. It's even good to even have some agreements ahead of time, these persons who have committed that they will actually buy the product or the service from you. You want to ensure that you spend the time to do the research. Don't think that it's slowing you down. It's not slowing you down. It's putting the investment in time up front so that at the back end it will serve you well. Because if you don't do it now, you're going to have to undo a lot of things and do it all over again. Now, number 7, do not become overly obsessed with your ideas. Yes, I know you have been told, yes, you need to be obsessed with it and you need to go at it hammer and thong. I don't know. Do not become obsessed with your ideas. Why? Because you need to be flexible. Sometimes, I can tell from my own experience that I have started businesses with a particular idea, direction I wanted to go in. And as I did the research and as I got more feedback, I realized that, it's not going to work quite like that. I have to make some radical changes. So I had to be willing to be flexible. Flexibility actually is crucial in business. Being too attached to your ideas can actually be quite harmful because it means that you are not open to feedback, you're not open to changing, and if you're not willing to stay open to new ideas and be ready to change, pivot, or totally abandon the idea, to be honest, if it's not working, then there is really little hope for it. As the business landscape changes, business have to be willing to adapt. You have to adapt your strategy. You have to sometimes adapt the product, adapt the services, and you just have to be willing to embrace change, be willing to modify your approach. You have to focus on what works. Practically, if something is not working, there's no point to pursuing it. It is said that flogging a dead horse is madness, is lunacy. If the horse is dead, you really only have one option, is to dismount. Come off that horse and get another horse or find a different means of transportation. So it's not just, what you have envisioned, but, Pragmatism often triumphs um, over idealism. Yeah, think about that. It's nice to be idealistic and have all these wonderful ideas for the business, but at the end of the day, you really have to be pragmatic. Really have to be pragmatic, right? So do not become too overly obsessed. If you start working, let go. If you need to tweak, tweak, right? Don't fall in love with the idea. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Right? Number eight. Number eight. Timing. Timing is everything. Um, Actually, probably this is one of the most important things. The timing of the business, right? Your success in business is heavily dependent on when you go into that business. Businesses, I say, all business ideas, there is a window of opportunity. And this window of opportunity is always open and closing, open and closing. It's like a butterfly. And if you don't catch it at that right time, if you don't catch the right wind, then you're going to be in a spot of bother. If you launch a business too early, if it's a new technology and people are just not ready for that, that could be a problem. If you launch a business too late, then clearly you're late to the party, right? So you have to monitor market trends and test and tweak, and act when the time is right. And that's why I always believe in testing the waters first before you throw everything, before you bet the farm, bet the house, and put your life savings into it. You want to do some prototype testing. Recognize, when a business opportunity presents itself and be ready to act quickly, because if you wait too long, clearly somebody else is going to take advantage of that opportunity if you wait too long. But you could be too early. And there are several such stories that I could share with you. The first one that comes to mind is the situation with MySpace. I don't know if you remember MySpace, but MySpace was clearly onto something, but they were probably a couple of years well ahead of their time. And they missed the opportunity that Facebook was able to capitalize on a few years later. Same concept, but timing. Uh, they were too early. Um, Another example is Napster versus iTunes. If you remember Napster in 1999, they came out, they revolutionized the music sharing. They allowed users to share MP3 files, but it was exciting, it was interesting, it was different. But guess what? They faced massive legal challenges in the music industry, and eventually they were forced to shut down. Now, by 2003, less than four years after iTunes came out with a user-friendly platform, and they took into consideration, of course, they would have learned by that time from the failures of Napster. Actually, sometimes it is said, being number two is not necessarily a bad thing, because you can learn from the mistakes of number one. Right? And so this user-friendly platform for purchasing and downloading music was launched in 2003. And couple that with the iPod, wow, basically it transformed the entire music industry, and it became what is now the industry standard. Totally changed the music landscape. So think about this one. You can be too late to the party, you can be too early to the party. Pay attention to the market trends. Pay attention to the market trends and make sure that your timing is right. Now, number 9, planning, business plan. And I'm not talking about 100-page and 50-page business plan. I'm just talking about a well thought out plan that you have documented that you can refer to. I'm actually one for what I call the hydrated business plan, which is not pages upon pages, and that you probably pay somebody to write, to get a loan or to get started, and then you never look at it again. I'm talking about a well thought out plan that the owner is involved in. You're writing it yourself. It's coming from inside of you, because nobody understands better than you what it is that you're trying to accomplish in your business, right? And a plan does a couple of things. It actually focuses your thoughts, your attention. It serves as a roadmap. It allows you to outline your strategy, your goals, and how you plan to achieve them. And I say, if you want to know if you have clarity on something, try to put it in writing. Writing actually clarifies. It clarifies. And I mean, in addition to just, planning on how you're going to succeed, I see the business plan pretty much as how a pilot would see their flight plan, or architect would see the blueprint for a building, You need that plan to navigate your entrepreneurial journey. And this detailed blueprint, this detailed flight plan, however, whichever analogy, you prefer, whichever one works for you, it includes things like, the marketing, it includes strategies, the financial projections, the operational plans, and this is not something that you're going to do in one day, and you're going to keep tweaking it as well. But I honestly feel that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Some persons may say, but why bother with a plan when things are changing so much? If everything is changing so fast, then why bother to plan? By the time you literally finish the plan and send it to the printer and the ink dries on it, the plan is probably obsolete. And that may be true, but I would say that if you don't have a plan, then you are actually going to have a more difficult time, because when things change and you have a plan, at least you have an understanding of what you need to tweak, change, pivot, right? There's a plan. It's like having a flight plan and there is going to be bad weather, so we know what we're changing from to what. Would you just say, well, we don't need a flight plan because, after we take off, there might be bad weather, so let's forget about it? You clearly wouldn't be comfortable with a pilot who is going to take that approach, right? So, having a clear plan before you get going is important. I know, persons get going and sometimes it work out, but I would rather err on the side of having a plan. It's like building a house, a hotel, a commercial complex, whatever it is. Would you just go to the hardware and just start buying the material, just buying the material to build this house, without any, plan as to how you're going to build the house, the design of the house, the square footage of the house, and how the quantities of each type of material that you would need? No, you wouldn't do that. I mean, that would be ridiculous. So why would you do that with your business? Why would you? And it's not any different. And I think, when you look at it like that, you realize how important it is to kind of slow down a little bit, and get this blueprint ready, and get all the help you can need. As I say, experience runs a very, very expensive school. You want to talk to persons who have been there and done it. You want to benefit from their experience. You want to benefit from the mistakes that they have made. My God, I have made many in my time. But guess what? We learn, we become better, we become stronger. And the last one I want to share today is having a business that's a good fit for you. Right? So number 10 is are you a good fit for your business? Very important. I know persons will say, but anybody can start any business. And that is true. But you'd have to be very dependent on other persons for that kind of business. Of course, you can pay for knowledge, you can pay for information, you can buy anything if you have enough money to do that. But if the business aligns with your skills, your education, your training, your background, your personality, your lifestyle, I'm sure you can see how it makes a lot of sense, right? So personal alignment really helps. So you realize that persons who have been maybe athletes, sports stars, they probably after they have made their fortune, they invest in sports related businesses. They probably have their own line of equipment or their own line of sporting goods, or if they were in bodybuilding fitness, they probably have their own line of clothing, for working out and so on, with all sorts of tweaks to it, how it can whisk moisture away from your body or something like that. The idea is that when you understand something, when you understand the market, then clearly you're going to be better at it. And again, disclaimer here, I am not saying that if you don't know about a particular business, you can't invest in it. You could probably invest in a franchise and you don't know enough about it. But guess what? You get in a blueprint, step by step, standard operating procedures as to exactly how to run that business. And to maximize the outcomes, right? So, make sure that there's a good fit. Make sure that this is a kind of business based on your lifestyle that is going to bring you joy and it's going to complement who you are as a person and not distract from it. You don't want to be bent out of shape doing something that doesn't come naturally to you, strategically also, you want to make sure that you have some well thought out plans as to how you are going to execute, right? So this is what I call the strategic fit, to make the plans that you have in that business plan work. And what do I mean by having a good strategic fit? You want to ensure that the things that you plan to do, the goals, the milestones, the tactics, the how are we going to get from where we are today to where we want to go as an organization is a fit for you. And it needs to be very clear. Why? Because you don't want to just be hopeful. I hear a lot of business people say, well, I hope it works out. I hope everything goes well. That sounds good, but guess what? You don't want to pitch your tent in the land of hope. I always say that hope is not a strategy. It never was, Hope is not a strategy. So that's my first 10 things that I wanted to share today. I hope you found it practical, insightful, and that you will join me next episode for the next 10. And as I said at the beginning, it's 50 things that I'm going to be sharing with you over the next 5 weeks, 10 each week. So you don't want to miss it. You definitely don't want to miss it. So thank you again for joining me for another episode of Talking Business with Dr. Sandra, and have a wonderful and a very, very productive week. See you next time.
In the dynamic world of business, reaching new heights requires innovative thinking and expert guidance. Welcome to Above or Beyond, where your vision meets our expertise. We bring over 70 years of combined experience and a proven track record in transforming challenges into opportunities. At Above or Beyond, every step we take is guided by a commitment to excellence. At Above or Beyond, we're not just business and management consultants. We're your partners in achieving the pinnacle of business success. Visit us at aboveorbeyondjm.com. Email us at info@aboveorbeyondjm.com or call us at 954-361-1745. At Above or Beyond, the goal is excellence.
Who wants to be a millionaire?